Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel, The Grim Reader. I come to you today with another sort of responding to questions video. And this one's going to be kind of covering the topic of favorite books, but connected to, so that for Laura, she asked about my favorite book, Laura. And then Renee asked about Touchstone books. And so that's what I'm going to do, talk about Touchstone books in my life in a very kind of chatty, hopefully not completely incoherent way. It goes back to some of Laura's other questions. Is there a book you're returning to, a book that keeps popping up? Or there's actually other ones there too. And I think I'm going to come back to some of the ones that have fallen through the cracks, like favorite poet and German and Austria. I'll just come back and do another one about Musil, Zola, and Trollope. There's still questions there, so there'll be another one. But that's okay. It's fine. And I do want to get these books out of the way. So let me get started here. I look disheveled. I'm in complete at-home grading mode. So, but let me get into the books. So, also we went to Trader Joe's yesterday. So I'm drinking a lovely sparkling green tea with pineapple juice beverage, which they're really good. I like them a lot. In no particular order, the first one kind of is a stand-in for my graduate school life. which kind of consumed me for many years, or at least I took a good long time. I don't know, 6 years or something. I don't know. I got my master's and it took me a while to get it all done. And I'm going to talk a little, or mention Walter Benjamin as one of the sort of key thinkers of that time period, and of kind of a beloved critical thinker and philosopher connected to my program that I was in. And we love reading his works. He's very difficult sometimes, and I'd love to get back into reading him. It's been a long time, but of course he's most famous for the artwork in the age of technical reproducibility. And I might actually link a nice video from one of my favorite front sort of outward-facing academics. Ellie Anderson does a great job with her philosophy, and she has a little kind of introduction to that essay, which might be fun for some of you. I don't know. And there's other great things in here. He has a long essay, for example, on Goethe's great novel, but weird novel, Elective Affinities, that I really, because I want to reread Elective Affinities by Goethe and then read his long essay about it. And then he has something about Paris, which is connected to his big work on Paris, I guess. And I'm also interested in that because I'm kind of in a French frame of mind, 19th century French frame of mind for reasons. There's just so much good stuff in here. And at the end, there's sort of shorter little excerpts. He's a brilliant thinker, brilliant writer. And I know I'm being very general, and sort of kind of, what's the word, helped me kind of sort of think about things in an interesting way. The concept of history, thesis is about the concept of history, very famous stuff here. It does take me back to my graduate school days. So that's number one. Walter Benjamin, a collection here, Illuminations. It's sort of from his edition of the Surkamp edition of his works. Next one is one that I taught back in the day in I don't even know what the class was, but Anna Seger's The Dead Girls School Outing. So der Ausflug der toten Mädchen. Just a really sort of poignant story about sort of it's autofiction, because it's her kind of remembering a school excursion, and then sort of contemplating the sad fates of the girls. So the school excursion was before the war, Second World War, and then she kind of you kind of also get an image of what happens to them all. And it's very moving, very well written, and I highly recommend it. There's a NYRB version of it, and it's from 1948, and it starts in Mexico, because that's where she is. She went to Mexico, and it's a beautiful work of fiction that I love. The only English work on here, sorry, is Patrick White's Fuss, which it really kind of connects the German and the Australian in this really interesting way. And it's a brilliant novel focusing on a relationship between this 19th century woman and this German explorer who sets out, who's kind of based on a real guy, sort of. So you get the Australian bush experience, you get the interaction of the sort of relationship between the young woman and this German fellow. And the writing was superb, as I recall. It's been a while since I read it. I don't know. I would like to reread it, but I have so many other things I want to read. But I was really very moved by Foss, by Australian award-winning writer that I don't see mentioned a lot on the YouTube's Patrick White. And I did start another one a while ago, and that one was more domestic Australian stuff. It didn't have the historical aspect, and it was still very well written, but I just kind of set it aside because I wasn't that into this one lady in her life as she lies in bed sort of being ill. But this one was amazing. He's a very good writer. So, Foss by Patrick White. I love the cover, which is a painting by David Davies, and it's kind of showing the bush, the outback, as we say. And so that's that one. And then let me see, what should I talk about next? I'll save that one. It's kind of my favorite book for last. Let's talk about this one. A strange book, but a very, very unique book by one of my favorite German woman writers, Gabriele Bohlmann, probably my favorite woman writer. Very much kind of the everyday life, but she's such a brilliant thinker, and it comes through in her writing about everyday things. I've always loved her work and her interviews. She's just really smart, very quiet, and sort of not sort of in the spotlight. She wasn't just a quiet person, and then this is her and her sister, and this book is called Saying Goodbye, so Departure from My Sister, and it's a very sad work because it's about the sister's passing away from a brain tumor, but it's intertwined with fictional kind of renderings of the same types of issues to do with death and passing and illness. And so it's intertwined with very kind of down-to-earth diary entries of what's going on and the sort of the departure, which took many years apparently. And she's the younger one, and they were very, very close. They grew up in the north on one of the islands up there, but she's actually connected to a city that's close to where I grew up, Darmstadt. And so it's a very sad work, and I think I did kind of read it connected to when my mother was passing away or passed in 2000, and it kind of helped me. It's also sort of unique because it intertwines so closely the everyday life of a writer with actual writings by the writer. And she's sort of aware that there's something to always be turning your life into art, that sometimes it's sort of an odd thing to do, but she does it anyway. And I was just reading an interview, and I don't think I'll do a good job of recapitulating what she said, but she said something about writing's the best because you're in life, but you're also at the same time a little bit distanced from life. So it gives you distance. And that kind of comes through in this intertwining of the actual life with the fictional reworkings of it. And it really is a unique insight to her craft, which is amazing. So, and even though it's a very sad topic, I liked it. I like sad topics. And, I'm interested in these, life-changing events, so to speak. I mean, how can one not be? It's it's there. Next one I'll talk about is the one I read the long time ago, which is Klaus Mann, Thomas Mann's son. His telling of a fictional kind of hidden telling of the actor Gustav Gründgens, who played Mephisto in Goethe's Faust, but also kind of was a devilish figure in the sense that he went over to the Nazis and became very successful under them, and was just so ambitious that everything else was secondary to his own becoming famous. And he was a really good actor, so it's sort of there's a tension there between, but he kind of sold out completely. And this is the novel about someone selling out. It's called Novel of a Career. And there's a good movie with Brandau, who's not as, he's good as Mephisto, but Gründgens as Mephisto is amazing, and you can see clips of him playing Mephisto, because even afterwards, this book was it wasn't allowed to be published because it was so obviously an indictment of his sort of career, and it took I think there was a court case about it, and it only was published. I don't know when it was first published. I think not until the 60s. since 70s even. I'm looking here. And I was rereading it, and it's a great story, but it does kind of, I don't think it's as well written as I don't think he's nearly as good of a writer as his father, but it is a good story, and maybe an important piece of work for sort of real world reasons. And he wrote it in exile. I mean, he was completely kind of very left wing, I think, and sort of bohemian with his sister Erica. And he wrote it in exile. And it's about, this guy, and he gives him a different name, but a similar name. It was forbidden in 1968. But yeah, I would recommend it. Either this or the movie's good too, by the Hungarian guy. I forget his name. Oh. Second to last book I will mention is a more recent read. I'm sorry, the book is falling apart. Uwe Jansson's Anniversaries was an amazing reading experience because I actually read it it's a diary. So every day in here is a diary entry. But it's much more than just diary. It's like an immersive retelling of this person's life, both in the present in New York and in the past to the northern parts of Germany. And it kind of has this dual timeline thing, which I think I'm kind of obsessed with books like that. The writing is superb, and the characters are very, very memorable. Jespine Crespal. And what was just so fascinating for me was that I stuck through reading it. Like I started it on, what day does it start? And so the first entry is August. Actually, it doesn't have a date, the first one. But the first dated entry is August 21st, 1967. And it goes to the next year. December, and then it will go to, when's the last one? 68, yeah, it goes to the August 68. And so many things happen in it. I mean, in the present time, a lot happens. And then in all of the past stuff, there's so much that happens because it's all of her own life and her growing up. So the last entry, the 19th of August, or the 20th of August. So exactly a year later. And what a wonderful reading experience it was. I would like to do this again too. Yeah, just absolutely fantastic. It says here on the back, the cat memory, calling memory a cat. Independent, uncorruptible, not obedient. I like that, calling memory a cat. And still someone who accompanies you, who does you good. Even if she just shows herself but remains unreachable. I love the idea of memory as a cat. That's great. See, that's just like such a me book. Fantastic. Last but not least, my favorite book since a while now, since I read it. And I do want to read all of his other works, but Dr. Faustus. Just such a sad work because it's also about the Second World War. I mean, if you have a dad who was part of that, and just, I don't know, it's hard to run away from the history stuff. Brilliantly written, kind of has a Mephisto theme thing too, of course. It's called Dr. Faustus, but in a league of its own in terms of style and just the depth of perception and the double timeline that starts. The book ends when, at the beginning of the war, and the writing of the book, it's thematized that it's being written. He ends the writing of the book at the end of the war, and the time in the book ends at it's just brilliant and very, very poignant because it sort of talks about the two terrible things that are going to happen, the beginning of the war and the end of the war, both terrible things for Germany. And there is a kind of melancholy sadness regarding the sort of Germany in general, like what was trying to be done and how wrong it went. So there's sort of these political there's a subtle political commentary about the sadness regarding the disaster that was the Third Reich, which is very poignant. And I love it so much. I love it so much. There are other books that I'm looking at over here that it will take me years to finish, but they might end up on this little list too. Yes, I'm sorry, my thoughts have been rather rambly about them, but I just wanted to give you an insight. And of course, there are many books, especially like the grad student days that I read, but I just wanted to give you kind of a sense of of the strangeness of my graduate education. It was very theoretical in a certain sense and philosophical. I mean, a book that should be on here is Kant's first critique of pure reason, specifically the beginning parts, transcendental apperception, but we're not going to talk about that now because I have to continue grading. Let's come down from the clouds here, Kathy, and think about what you have to be doing. I hope this was entertaining. I will post it and see. And at some point, I'm going to go in and try and like respond a little bit more to people's comments if I have a bit of time. And I will come back with some kind of video at some point. Little breaks from grading. It's always fun. And I hope everyone's doing well. And have you read any of these books? Are you interested in reading them? They're all fantastic in my opinion. It's a bit sad that Wollman hasn't been more translated. The Gabriele Wollman. There's some things, but I don't think she really pushed it. She was sort of like content in her little world that she had. There's some stuff, but I don't know if that one's been translated, so I'm not sure. Talk to you soon. Wish me luck with grading. Bye.